Today on Locked On Rockies. Well, the Rockies are the first spring training team to 3 wins. And to be totally honest, I was really surprised this weekend. Let's talk about why.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 26th day of February in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here is talk Rockies baseball each and every day here on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can let me know what's on your mind. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes here. We got a lot of people that were commenting on our episode from Friday. So, and I've really been loving all of the interaction we've been getting. So please keep those comments coming. Let me know what's on your mind. Let me know what you're thinking here after the first weekend of spring training. And the Rockies have a very nice opening weekend to spring training. And I want to focus on, I know it's a simple thing. I know it's kind of maybe we might sit there and scoff at the vibe talk, but really there's just a really different energy around this team right now, and really different type of just everything. I think that there's such a different aura around the team this year, and I'm going to tell you why here on today's episode, and talk a little bit more. Had a good little Twitter interaction yesterday too with some skeptic, which is totally understandable as well, because the Rockies still got to earn and be consistent to earn back all of the trust and faith of Rockies faithful. But we're going to dive into all that and more today. But before we do, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And let's get started by highlighting the fact that the Rockies really, did you have the Rockies starting off this strong? Did you have the Rockies going out there and striking out double-digit batters in a few of their games, double-digit hits, near double-digit runs? Yes, it is the first 4 games of spring training. I understand that. Pumping the brakes. Understand what the situation is. I do. But I'm also sitting here watching Michael Toglia hit 2 home runs. I'm watching Montero hit a home run. I'm watching young guys who want to break out within the Rockies organization and with this roster come to the yard ready to go. We aren't having a question and we aren't having a conversation at the beginning of this spring of, all right, we'll see these guys and we'll see how they fare. But eventually the veteran players are going to come in and take over. Remember last year, remember what the outfield looked like for the Colorado Rockies at this point last year. Jonathan Daz is still your center fielder. You have Jerks and Profar. You still have Randall Grichuk. Randall Grichuk hurt at the time, I believe, of spring training, or got hurt in spring training. I can't remember what was the case, but a late Jerks and Profar addition. You're still trying Chris Bryant in the outfield, and you're mixed with CJ Cron still playing first base, and so there was a lot more veteran presence than there is right now. When you and this is, I'll get into the Twitter, I don't know, beef, but just Twitter back and forth. There really wasn't anything hostile or anything like this, but this is from Dylan Zabel on Twitter here, because I did an overreaction tweet to saying that the Rockies really impressed me with their offense and the strikeouts. The strikeouts were crazy. And I'm not going to put too much stock into that. I know it's the first action all these players are seeing. I know it's a hodgepodge of who's who or who is playing. Who are these guys? I understand that. I just didn't expect the Rockies to get 16 strikeouts in one of their games already. Another 10 strikeout performance. But this is what Dylan had to say to me. The youth movement is most definitely not here. Remind me again what the starting lineup is going to be. So I responded with what I believe is going to be the starting lineup. Elias Diaz at catcher, Chris Bryant and Montero at first base. So there's one of your young guys. Brendan Rodgers. Now, this is an interesting one. Technically is a vet. I personally, he hasn't played a full season really outside of like one. And although some of those, 3 of those other seasons, he's played under 50 games, including the pandemic shortened season. So I'd still put him in the young guy type category, but I gave vet. I conceded to vet status there for Brendan Rodgers. Tovar at shortstop, McMahon at third. And then I'm pretty confident the entire outfield is going to be young players. I think at this point it's going to be, I think Chris Bryant is going to play some right field, certainly, especially if Montero forces his way into the lineup as the DH or the first baseman with that offense. But I'm pretty confident that the outfield is going to be Nolan Jones, Bretton Doyle, and then someone out of Sean Bouchard, Michael Tolia, and Hunter Goodman. DH is Chuck and Monty as well. And by my count in that's more young players than veteran players on the team. And by my count, it's led by a lot of really young players, a lot of second-year players, a lot of players that still are establishing that full rookie season. This is to sit there and say that the youth movement isn't happening just flat out isn't true. I mean, the vast majority of the Rockies roster is going to be younger players, especially when compared to last year. Last year, there were starting I think I can't really emphasize this enough that last year the Rockies were sending out starting lineups with Grichuk and Profar and Crone and Mike Moustakas and XYZ mixed with, veterans that they've had to bring in to plug holes in that rotation. Now we're getting a chance to see these young guys, and we're getting a chance to see the next wave of Rockies prospects, the ones that we expect to start at Double-A, come in and start out with energy. There is energy to this Rockies team right now. There is a pulse. There is a pulse, and there's something to show here that maybe the adjustments being made in the offseason are helped out the Rockies. Maybe the Rockies are showing some signs of really taking this offseason and building on it. Or maybe we're just getting way ahead of ourselves in the first 4 games of spring training. All of that can be true. But I think the thing that you can most certainly say, there is a different energy around this Rockies team. And that doesn't mean that they aren't going to struggle. That doesn't mean I've changed my mind after 4 spring training games and I'm sitting here saying this Rockies team is going to the playoffs. I'm still not saying that. But I'm saying this Rockies team is more exciting than it has been. I would say this might be the most excited I've been to watch a Rockies team in 2-3 seasons. I don't think it's that crazy to say that this is the most excited I've been to watch the Rockies since the playoff teams. Maybe the last year of Trevor Story, because the Rockies that season was weird with those weird road splits. But this team is much more interesting than it has been. But that doesn't mean they aren't going to struggle. It doesn't mean that they're immediately slam dunk, ready to rock. They are big time Mamba Jamba going to go after this season, and they're going to surprise the world with a huge playoff run. I don't think that's the case, but I think people are going to be surprised when they see the Rockies be better than these early projections. Because remember, people think the Rockies are going to be the worst team in baseball this year, and I didn't feel it then, and I don't feel it now. I think that this Rockies team does have interesting components, but there's still so much to be seen. But there's momentum potential here. There is something to build off of, and we're going to talk about that coming up here in segment number 2. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about some of the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. FanDuel's got you covered with all the NBA action this season. They also got you covered for hockey. They even got you covered for baseball, future bets, and more. So check out all the action at America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's right. Any winning $5 bet is going to get you $150 in bonus bets. $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. You can see all the NBA action like the quick bets, the live same game parlays, exclusive props, and more on the super easy to use app. See all the action for yourself. Maybe check out some of the baseball futures if you're looking to test your baseball knowledge there. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to shoot your shot. Remember, $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet when you visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show, firing off your Rockies hot takes. Let me know what's on your mind by commenting on the videos. When you like and subscribe to those videos, you are really helping the show grow. You are really helping us out. So if you can, go like those videos, go subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe. Best way to help the show grow as we continue the march to 1,000 subscribers before opening day. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on Amazon Fire TV. In the free Fire TV channels app, Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Okay, so we are talking about the hot start for the Rockies. It's not, it's early. It's the beginning of spring. Everybody's figuring things out. So let's take this 16 strikeout performance. Let's take all this offense, 17 plus hits yesterday, and let's take our grain of salt. I'm most excited by this because it can build momentum here. Start the spring strong, finish the spring strong, build up that mentality of getting in there and getting in the grind and going through it and going through things with that chip on your shoulder, with the thought process of, I want to take on this challenge. I want to be the player that takes this narrative about the Rockies, that takes this narrative about me, that takes this narrative about my team and change it. The best way to feel confident about the Rockies going into the actual regular season is for this strong start to spring, as that's a little bit of a mouthful to say, continues throughout. That's not only spring, but the season. Momentum is so key. We have seen so many times momentum fall flat for the Rockies. We've seen it in games. We've seen them come out the gates, boom, going and taking up teams and fighting. And then the seventh inning comes and it all falls apart. We've seen the Rockies, to start some seasons off strong, have a hot couple of weeks, have a hot 2 weeks to start the season. And then it all falls apart. Consistency and momentum are going to be key for the Colorado Rockies. They need to be a team that can consistently play as good as they believe and feel they can play, and be able to navigate and stop the bad stretches, the bad skids. How is this team going to respond when you're getting into the middle of spring training and your playing time's getting limited? How are you going to respond to the adversities of fighting for your spot, fighting for your spot on the roster? It's a moment where these young guys can take that step up in maturity, can take that next step forward when they in their development of, this is what it takes to be a ball player. This is what it takes to be able to be healthy and strong and show up to the yard every day and contribute to help my team. It is so imperative for a player like Montero to have the strong, to continue to start, or to have a strong spring, to continue to be a contributor. If you got to make your name for it yourself right now, because there's no better chance with the Rockies to make a name for yourself than right now, as they continue to figure things out and navigate and go through what this rebuild process, or whatever they want to call it, is. This is the time. These at-bats matter. These moments matter for these young players, for these young guys. So they have to maintain this. My biggest concern with the Rockies, and this has been a concern for years now at this point, is that consistency. Can the Rockies put together winning weeks of baseball? Can the Rockies put together, weeks where they win 4 out of the 6 games? Can they do that consistently? I would like to see this team maintain what they're doing right now throughout the spring, because that just will show me a little bit more about this team getting in the groove. And then, of course, we got to see it transfer over to the big leagues. We got to see this transfer over to when the Rockies are going to be seeing the starting lineups, starting to see those starting pitchers. It all matters. It does. The hot start to spring training does matter if you're looking for the small things to start building your excitement about with the Rockies. However, it's also the first week of spring training. It's also completely up in the air, and a lot of this stuff is, completely subjective as everyone is shaking the rust off. I just am a firm believer in momentum. I am a firm believer that this team needs to start building up, not only in terms of performance on there, but that confidence that they belong at the table. They belong in the conversation. They deserve more than what their rep is. And it starts with a success, continuing to have success throughout the spring. It's a long haul. It really is. And there's still a very steep mountain to climb, but you can't sit there and not say that you're impressed with the Rockies after these first few games. I mean, the Rockies really, they have shown that they were ready to play ball. They have been ready to play here in spring. And I'm liking that this team is stealing bases here. They're not afraid to already get moving and start doing things in these early spring training games that you don't always do. Get in that mentality now. Get in that let's grind mentality now. Get in that focus. Let's steal a base. Let's steal a game. All of these at-bats matter. And I like to see that seems to be the mentality for the Rockies to start the year. I just have so much more intrigue and interest in how the spring is going to pan out for the Colorado Rockies this year versus last year. The roster was pretty much, we had pretty much confidence in most of the roster spots, but for there to be competition here now for the closer, for the last 2 spots of the rotation, for first base and right field, mixed in with getting ready for the spring, competition is in the Rockies camp right now, and that is a good thing. This is where you start. If you're looking for how to build a great team, it does start with the foundation. It does start in moments like this. It starts in spring training. It starts before spring training. How can the Rockies build off of this? How can the Rockies make this consistent? Well, we're going to see throughout the rest of spring training. That's going to be the biggest question about this team. Sure, there's going to be moments where the Rockies can do good things, can do big things, can make impacts on games. But can they do it consistently? Can they do it against the best? Can they do it when they need to do it? Time's only going to tell for that. But I'm more confident in this team being able to hopefully get it done than I am in other versions, because I do believe that the young players of the Colorado Rockies are really interesting. There's a lot of framework. There's a lot of components of these young guys that really can change the game for the Rockies. If we're going to have an improved Brenton Doyle on offense mixed with that defense, game changer for the Rockies. If Nolan Jones continues to be Nolan Jones, game changer for the Rockies. If Tovar continues to develop and take steps forward at the pace that he is going, I mean, I know those are the 3 main guys we've talked a ton about, but they all bring something that's going to change the landscape of the Rockies. If Montero is actually going to be the bat that he believes and the Rockies believe, that is a massive upgrade for the Colorado Rockies. 450-foot bomb in spring training to start spring training is always going to raise my eyebrows. But just like with everything, just as we're sitting here being excited and overreacting to everything, and remember, if you're going to watch this and you're going to sit there and be like, oh, you're freaking out about the Rockies, it's only, remember what the title says. We are overreacting. But it's okay to overreact right now because there's interest, there's intrigue. There is stuff to be interested about and to follow throughout spring training for the Rockies. And there's a reason to be tuning into each ball games. I mean, these young guys, Beck and everybody too, they're knocking on the door. They want so many of these young guys. Yanquiel Fernandez, I think, was it him that hit that monster home run with the bat flip? I know it was in the game the Rockies lost, but still, the young players of the Rockies have shown up to camp to say, we are here to play. We are here to show you why we deserve to make the Rockies roster. And not only that, why we deserve to start, why we deserve to be the ones to focus on, why the story is going to be about us and not Chris Bryant and Charlie Blackmon. And it's not to take away from Chris Bryant or Charlie Blackmon or McMahon or Rogers or any of the veteran players. These are young guys that want to break out into the league and introduce themselves and say, hey, we are the next group of Rockies players that you better be watching out for, because we know how to we are here to go. We are here to compete. We are here to change the game. I really do think, I mean, that the amount of competition at camp this year is awesome. It just seems like the Rockies are already in a compete now mindset, in a let's go, it's time to play ball and win ball games mindset. They just need to continue that. They need to continue a positive momentum. They need to continue to develop here as they go through the spring. Keep working on the things. But fundamentally, what we've seen for the Rockies is a simple blueprint to win baseball games that they've gone away from. Strike a bunch of batters out, score a bunch of runs, hit home runs. I know that isn't going to transfer over to the regular season 1-to-1, but if you want to win ball games, if you want to surprise people, you're going to have to do more of that this year. The Rockies have struggled at striking batters out. The Rockies offense has struggled to score runs, but the Rockies so far in spring training have been much more successful in changing that. Now, again, it is just the first 4 games of spring training, but the Rockies have put up crooked numbers in all of them, including their 10-point win. They're not win, but 10 runs there against the Brewers. The Rockies have yet to been shut out, and they have been a team that has really shown the ability to strike some batters out. In 3 out of the 4 Rockies spring training games so far, the Rockies gave up a total of 4 runs. The Rockies have given up 10 runs over the course of those 4, and 6 of those runs came in one game during one of the split squad days. There is a pulse here. There is a pulse here, and there is something to there. The intrigue of the Rockies has grown after the weekend. Okay, let's talk a little bit about, let's just talk some stats. Let's see what we saw this weekend. Let's see who played. Let's talk about what happened when, and let's just recap some games and look ahead to what's ahead as the Rockies are going to be playing the Dodgers for the first time. No Shohei here, but there will be more baseball today. So let's talk about that and more coming up here on Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about some of the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED highlights, headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Really do appreciate that, and really do appreciate you tuning in and liking the videos, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and letting me know what's on your mind. What are you overreacting to? What's on your mind following the first weekend of Rockies spring training baseball here? Let me know in the comments below. Rockies 3-1 so far here in spring training, and they started off in that first game there. They had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pitchers pitching that first one. And those 7 pitchers combined for, let's see, 7, 9, 11, 14, 16 strikeouts in that first game there, as well as the Rockies seeing some RBI action from Jordan Beck. Montero with that monster tater there. I absolutely loved that swing. Really good to see Drew Romo. He's been playing a lot of catcher as well. He knocked in a run in that first one, picking up a hit as well. And really hoping to keep an eye on Riley Pint there as he continues to try to impress during this spring. He already has a couple appearances, and someone that we definitely are rooting for here throughout spring. In that second game, we once again saw some offense here from some of the young guys, including Braxton Fulford, as they were going through all sorts of catchers. Michael Tolia hits a home run and drives in a run as well. Interesting. I'm curious to see how Coco Montes is going to go through and handle spring training as well, trying to find that backup utility player type of role, as Alan Trejo is most likely going to be taking up that role. But another situation where Rockies pitchers are able to get some strikeouts here. Here they had 6 strikeouts in game number 2 there in the 5-1 win over the A's there. A couple innings pitched for Peter Lambert and Ty Block there to start things off as well. Game 3 here. This is where the Rockies unfortunately do get shellacked here, 6-2. Noah Davis giving up an earned run, and Joe Rock unfortunately not looking too sharp to start things off. But again, first appearance on the bump here for the Ohio University alum in spring training. But the Rockies able to negate some of that damage there, as let's see, Juan Maya, Kyle Wilcox, and Jaden Hill are able to keep the Diamondbacks off the board there with a couple of strikeouts. Still, another moment here where Rockies pitching is able to rack up some strikeouts here. There is 9 strikeouts in that game. Like we said, was it Fernandez? Yeah, Yanquiel Fernandez does hit that moonshot tater with a great bat flip there as well. And then in that Brewers game, the Rockies 18 hits there, scoring 10 runs. Everybody really kind of getting in on the fun here. Most of the starters, it looks like, it's really hard to read these box scores, are picked up hits in that final one. The strikeouts continue here for the Rockies starters, or the Rockies pitching staff, to start the season. The Rockies rotation gathering up another 9, looks like 10 strikeouts there in that Sunday game against the Brewers. So first 4 games of spring training, million people are playing of all different levels, but that's the type of stuff you want to see to start spring. Those are the areas you wanted to see the Rockies succeed in. Those are the areas the Rockies need to improve in. Strikeouts, scoring more runs, getting more hits, and they've done that so far. So I really think the most surprising thing so far has been the pitching with the strikeouts. Maybe that's just because everyone's getting geared up for the season, and it's their first real live action, real in-game against someone else live action in a bit. But I'm never not going to be surprised if we're seeing guys that are proving that they have strikeout ability. That's the type of stuff that really gets me excited for the pitching staff. And I love seeing the young guys hitting taters. I really like this. That game against the Brewers with a lot of runs scored, a lot of offense, a lot of strikeouts. That is going to help you win some big ball games, and that is going to help you help teams really fight. Help the Rockies fight their way through some ball games and win some ball games. But so we're overreacting, obviously, but that's the theme of today. That's the theme of where we're at right now. I mean, there are other teams that are probably hitting the panic button already, but right now, I want to see the Rockies maintain the momentum. and see where they go from there, because there's so much baseball left. And we'll be talking about it all right here on Locked On Rockies. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies, as the cough bug is trying to take me down here before the end of the show, but I'm not going to let it. Reminder, folks, that you can find us on your favorite streaming services. You can find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. You can be part of the show when you like and subscribe and comment on the videos. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB, or if you need more Colorado sports coverage, check out Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.